when we are confronting potential or actual catastrophes, from AIDS to ecological disasters to Holocaust. They don't have a deeper meaning. And here things get even more complex. But then at the end, of course, we all know, Job nonetheless confronts God with, what about my suffering? I claim, and here I follow my favorite Catholic theologist, Gilbert Keith Chesterton, I claim that the standard, at least to my knowledge, predominant reading is totally wrong. Namely, the reading which reads that God's apparently boastful explosion. You remember, but who are you to say? Who were you when I was created, all those unicorn monsters whatsoever? It's usually read as this assertion of the radical gap separating God from man. The way I read it, following Chesterton, is exactly in the opposite way. That God's message is, you think you are in trouble, but look, the whole universe is one big mess. Even I don't know what's happening. It's kind of a God being overwhelmed by the mess he created, God at a loss. And now we come to the crucial point. So what, for me, dies on the cross? Here I follow Hegel, when he says what dies on the cross is not an earthly representative of God. That's specific to... In other religions, when you deal with son's messenger, it's he is up there, we are here, he sends a messenger, we people crucify him, screw him up, screw things up, so then, okay, son, come back, maybe in 1,000 years I'll send you again, whatever. No, as Hegel emphasizes, it's precisely that God of the beyond itself which dies. What does this mean? You, I hope, remember what I find the most disgusting metaphor that I can imagine of theology. The metaphor of a painting. You know, the idea is when you encounter evil, you think it's evil. It's like when you watch a painting from too close and you just see a disturbing stain. And then the idea is withdraw to a proper distance and you will see how what wrongly appeared to you as evil really contributes to global harmony and so on and so on. I have problems with this. I mean, like, it would be nice to say how, oh, why do we bother so much with Gulag, Holocaust, or let's not limit ourselves just to this, or what happened with Congo and what incidentally is happening in Congo today. These are just events which, if you withdraw and look at the total harmony, they contribute to the global peace. I mean, the God who needs such an element to impose his hammer would be the good old Satan that you mentioned. So what I'm saying is that I claim that if there is a spiritual meaning of Christ's death, it's precisely his abdication from this role. Christ is no longer old guy. The death of Christ stands for the death of God, who somehow guarantees that at the end things will turn out okay. You know, like we may experience a confused reality, but somehow there is old guy up there pulling the strings and so on, guaranteeing the happy ending. No, it's precisely a God who fearlessly throws himself, as it were, into his own creation, not playing this dirty game of when you complain to him, oh, things are screwed up. Oh, no, you have to see the whole picture. No, no, no. The truth is in detail. Let me tell you a couple of anecdotes now, very brief ones. I read an anecdote about Harold Pinter, who was, a couple of years ago, before his death, obviously, thrown out of a reception at the U.S. Embassy in Turkey, when a U.S. diplomat was praising the Turkish political progress. Pinter evoked the brutal torture of the Kurdish guerrillas by the Turkish military. The diplomat responded that there are always two sides of each story, you know. You cannot just focus on that. You should see the broader picture. And then Pinter cut him short with, but not if your balls are wired to a battery and shot through by electricity. Then there is no broader picture. And I claim that this is Christ's gesture. There is no broader picture. Allow me to make this point absolutely clear, to repeat two stories which I really like, because they are, I think, Christology and its purest, which I used in one of my books. I always like political joke to illustrate theological point. But from when I was young, you remember there was an era when there were monsters like Richard Nixon, Leonid Brezhnev, and Erich Honecker in East Germany. The story is one of the stupid stories, you know. They all confront God and are allowed to ask God one question. Nixon asked what will become out of United States 30, 50 years from now. God says, it will be a Soviet republic. Nixon, be careful how I literally formulate it, Nixon turns around and starts to cry. Then Brezhnev asks, so what will become with my Soviet Union? God answers, sorry guy, no better. Soviet Union will be a Chinese colony. Again, Brezhnev turns around and starts to cry. Then Honecker, German Democratic Republic, asks, so what will be with my beloved GDR? You can guess the answer. God turns around and starts to cry. This is the proper, when you fall in, you have the series, you think God is out, he falls into it. Or to give you a similar example, my favorite political joke from there. In the late 30s, Ljubljana, KGB prison, 3 guys found themselves in the same cell and start to explain to each other their position. The first guy says, I was condemned to 5 years for opposing Popov, a top nomenclatura guy. The second guy says, but the party line then changed, and I was condemned to 10 years for supporting Popov. Finally, the third one says, yes, you can guess. I'm here for life, and I am Popov. This is the Christological moment. You got it, how the apparent exception up there falls, how should I put it, falls into the series. So, not to get too far into this, just to conclude. So my point is not to be an atheist Christian in the sense of saving the Christian message in atheist form. My point is a much stronger one here. Not only is atheism the truth of Christianity, but one can only be a true atheist by passing through the Christian experience. All other atheisms continue to rely on some form of the big other. Stalinism, you have the big other of history which guarantees the meaning of our acts and so on and so on. So what happens for me with the death of Christ is what? Remember, and that's crucial, after the death of Christ, there is no happy return or whatever, it's Holy Ghost. Holy Ghost is what? It's a collective of believers, I use the word collective, not community, an egalitarian collective of believers with no guarantee in the big other. Basically, with the death of Christ, the big other, any historical guarantee, spiritual, whatever, ontological, disappears. For me, the death of Christ means not that the ultimate message of Christianity is we are condemned to our freedom. It's not we should trust God. It is God should trust. God trusts us. Now I'm approaching the end of time, so I will just recapitulate what I wanted to say. First, I want to interpret from here, from this crucial notion of Holy Ghost as the community, egalitarian community of believers, the question of violence. This Holy Spirit, of course, is an engaged collective. This is another crucial Christian experience for me, that truth can be at the same time universal and engaged. How to read from here? I always like to embarrass my theological friends with just reading them those passages that I, of course, as an old crazy leftist, admire most in the New Testament. You know, all those horrifying statements by Christ. Do not think I came to bring peace on the earth. I did not come to bring peace but the sword. Or I have come to cast fire upon the earth. Or if anyone comes to me and does not hate his own father and mother and wife and children and brothers and even his own life, he cannot be my disciple, and so on and so on. How to read this? It's incredible. I'm quite amused at how I get the whole series of excuses. Like the standard procedure is that my theological opponents, who pretend to be good Orthodox Christians, all the time turn into some kind of cheap historicist deconstructionist. They say, you know, you should understand the historical circumstances there, and so on and so on. Then the most blasphemous version I find is the one of trying to relativize. It doesn't mean you really have to hate your parents. Just you shouldn't love them too much. Sorry, that's a blasphemy for me. It means, you know, God, some kind of perverse, obscene old guy. Okay, you can love your wife, father, but I want to be sure that you love me more, no? And so on, all that stuff. I think the only way to read these scandalous words is precisely along the lines of revolutionary violence, what Walter Benjamin developed as divine violence, and so on and so on. It's not hatred as kind of a pseudo-dialectical opposite to love. It's hatred out of love. This is the wonderful message of Kierkegaard in his works of love, where he says that a true Christian doesn't only love his neighbors, he is ready to hate, even kill his neighbors out of love. To sustain this tension is, for me, what we need today. And this brings me now really to conclude to what this means for the social order. It means something for the reason of which I think apocalyptic Christianity is still the ultimate horizon today, which we need it more than ever. The idea is a very simple one. This is for me what Christ means with hate your father, mother. Not literally hate them, kill them, but hate them precisely in their symbolic institutional function as mother, father, and so on. The message is a wonderful one. It is that social hierarchic order is not the ultimate reality. There is a space for an egalitarian collective which, as it were, cuts across it. And not just in this Buddhist way of in nirvana we are all the same. No. We can be all the same here on this earth. We can organize ourselves as the same here. And again, this universality is not an abstract universality which is wrongly attributed to Hegel in the sense of the universality of a hierarchic order, of, you know, like you as a mother are a good mother, he is a good master, you are a good obeying kid, and so we are, everyone is our own place. This is for me, are you aware how revolutionary here Christianity is? This is for me the ultimate message. To use the fashionable terms, if there ever was a non-holistic religion, and if there is a thing that I hate is so-called holistic approach, it's Christianity. It's not the religion of to establish harmonious order. It's the religion of struggle, of imbalance. To be universal means to fight. The only true universality is the universality of struggle, which is why I think, although we should do all possible for the poor people and so on, if you want to understand what Christian love is, you should first understand what it is not. It's not charity. Charity I really hate. As a Christian, although atheist Christian, one of the figures of devil today for me is Starbucks coffee. Why? Did you notice the ideology when you enter it? It's their propaganda. When they all the time it's the same message. When you buy a cup of our coffee, you don't buy only a cup of coffee. You buy the whole world experience. You know, 2% go to some Guatemala children to educate them for water and so on, all that stuff. This kind of a charity manipulation, how does it function? This is false love. Why? Because when you see this disgusting poster, this is anti-Christianity at its purest. You know, the poster of some disfigured, starving black child, and with the words, with the price for a couple of cappuccinos, you can save this kid's life. But if you read between the lines, what's the message? The message is, there are people starving, we exploit them, and so on. But for a price of a couple of cappuccinos, we can make you feel good. So that you don't have really to worry, not only this, but you can even feel good that you are doing something. Don't underestimate this ideological functioning today. As a true Christian, you should even doubt, I think, all this organic food bullshit. Listen, when you see that so-called organic apples, which are half rotten but cost 3 times more, do you really buy them because you believe that they are less poisonous? I think you are here a sane skeptic. You think, maybe. But why then do you buy them? It makes you feel good. You see, even when I'm buying apples, I'm part of a larger movement. I'm hoping Mother Earth to get better. We are literally more and more buying buying ideology. Now, believe me or not, really to conclude, I mean, so what I am saying is that